You're watching Detroit on Deck. Here are your hosts, Dave Siseski and Josh Clark.
What's up, Clarky? Dave Siseski, Josh Clark. As always, another episode of Detroit on Deck. Josh, a lot going on in the football world, and it's kind of interesting, man. Jim Harbaugh, let's start with that. I know you got your Michigan hat on. I do like that hat. That's sharp. There was a report that Michigan was willing to put out an offer to make him the highest paid coach. Now, what that means is that regardless of who gets a raise year to year, he would be the highest paid coach. So say somebody wants to hire, I don't know, I'll just throw out a name, Dabo Sweeney for $12 million or $12.5 million. Jim Harbaugh would get 12.6, right? Like he'd get more. There's not a real number out there right now, but because I think Michigan doesn't know how serious he is with them. Because I really believe that. I think he's going to be the Chargers head coach. There was also some conflicting reports, Josh, that said that he never left the Chargers facility and that he's actually there right now and they're finalizing things. I don't know what you believe. I personally think he's going to go to the Chargers. I think Michigan is just showing that, hey, we're willing to do whatever we can to keep him here, but he just wants to go to the NFL. Thoughts?
No, yeah, I agree with you. I do think he's going to jump to the NFL ultimately. Who knows when it's going to be? I do also feel the Chargers are going to be, his destination, and it's just because of one person. It's Justin Herbert. Like outside of Herbert, that roster doesn't have much, in my opinion. And a lot of relief in their cap, which is going to cut half of their their stud players. Mike Williams, I expect to be gone. You could see Khalil Mack gone, via cap casualty, things of that nature. So there's a lot that it's going to have to go on. Then you add in, his salary and all this other stuff. They're just in, cap nightmare. So I don't expect him to do anything. Probably the first couple of years, but yeah, it's interesting though that he would consider this move though still with the reports out there that Michigan's willing to make him the highest paid coach. I honestly think it's going to come down to, especially this year, they have returning talent. Don't get me wrong. I expect them to still be good, 10-2-ish, 9-3-ish. I can see, still a top 12 team making the playoff, in my opinion. But they're going to take a step back for sure. And maybe he's just not ready for that. So maybe he's like, yeah, I don't know if I could do that. So I'm out of here.
I think, if you look at it, two sides of it. If he went there 2 years ago, I'd say, yeah, this team's ready to win a championship with Austin Eckler and all those receivers and everybody. But now they're kind of like, okay, they got Bosa on the defensive side, and they've got Herbert. And that's the two that you build on, right? Anyone else is expendable. We know the life of an NFL running back is very, very short, right? So Austin Eckler last year was not the same guy. I still think he can be effective, but if I'm them, I'm going to try to unload him somehow, right? Because
Eckler definitely was a shell of himself this year, and he's making way too much money to perform the way he did this year. So I could see him being a cap casualty as well. And
you didn't make the playoffs. You weren't close to making the playoffs. You got a lot of holes, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Mac was right up there with the leaders in sacks for a while. I don't know where he finished, but he had a great year. Some of those games, he had one game where he had 4 sacks. So he gets them in bunches. He's not the same guy as he was with Chicago or even when he was with the Raiders, but I tell you what, if he would come cheap, he'd be a perfect guy to come to the Lions next year, be on the opposite side of Hutch. That's the guy he's going to get pressure. That's what he does. He's a big guy. But we'll see. Detroit usually likes to go with guys that are cheaper. If he come for the veteran minimum or $2 million a year, somewhere like that, I'm sure they'd work something out, but I don't see it happening. But it'd be nice. I think Jim's gone.
Yeah, no, I do feel that he is gone as well. I do also feel the Chargers are probably the number one spot just because of his desire to coach Justin Herbert, who he is still that he loves as a quarterback.
Who wouldn't? Right? But, he's a good player.
You got the sunshine of California, you got Justin Herbert there and all this other stuff. So it's a nice little, destination. But personally, I personally feel like it better fits Atlanta.
I'd rather go to Atlanta because at least, you're going to have your home fans there. people do not even go and cheer for the Chargers.
Yeah, LA's a Ram city. Like,
right.
Let's be honest. Let's be real. Like, they were dumb to take them out of San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, in at least in Atlanta, you can bring in your own quarterback because Desmond Ridder's not it. You have a stud in Kyle Pitts, who Jim Harbaugh loves utilizing his tight ends.
Draft J.J. McCarthy.
You have a up and coming stud receiver in Drake London. Like, you have some stud defenders. Jesse Bates being one of them. You have pieces there and you play in the NFC South, which is a weak division. 8-9 wins could win you the division.
Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, you got a lot of talent.
Exactly. So to me, that's a better, on paper, a more desirable destination.
I'll be honest with you. I think Atlanta. I think that's where Bill Belichick wants to be. Because he said before in the past that he wants to be somewhere. Basically, they're saying here that he wants to go to a place that's underachieved, but has some talent around there. And yeah, he's gonna need
Chicago.
Chicago's not letting go of Eberflus, who
right.
finished nicely. It would have been good, but yeah, he finished nicely, and I think he deserved to keep his job. But like, when you look at Atlanta, they have pieces there. Now, are they ready to compete next year for a championship? No. But in a couple of years, they could be. That's why I think it is perfect, not for Bill Belichick, but like you said, Harbaugh, because he can bring in his guys. They already said he's bringing in Jesse Minter wherever he goes. So Michigan's going to lose a great defensive coordinator. Now, I think Sherrone Moore probably fills in at head coach there. Maybe not. I don't know. But I do believe that Harbaugh will get an NFL job, and it's pick the team. It's really Atlanta or it's going to be the Chargers. I think the Seahawks made a mistake in not bringing in Harbaugh. I think that would have been great as well. Because that's another team that probably is looking at. I've seen rumors, J.J. McCarthy, because he's going to go in the first round. I believe that. I mean, he's that talented.
Yeah, I could see him going as early as, I think 16 is where Seattle picks right now. Or not 16, I'm sorry.
I think it was at 12 or something?
Yeah, maybe a little bit sooner than that, but I could see them flirting with that because, they basically have everything on paper outside of a young quarterback. Gino's, 33, I believe 32. So, he's aging, and, you're definitely going to need a replacement.
And he was on a one-year deal, so.
Drew Lock's definitely not been the answer there. That's why they brought Gino in. So
yeah, Gino I think is actually done. I think he was on a one-year deal, so I don't think he's coming back. And Drew Lock is just say what you want, but I'll use him as a backup maybe, and that's about it. Hey, let's move to some business here. Detroit keeps winning, man. We got the Niners coming up. It's going to be exciting. A lot of storylines, Josh, but one of them that really stands out is you got the last pick in the draft versus the first pick in the draft, right? Not the same years, but Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and what a career he's really turned out to have already for somebody that was the last pick of the draft. Jared Goff reinvented himself. His career's back on track for a number one pick. He just beat Baker Mayfield, a former number one pick. And it was an exciting way they got that victory. And then you saw Brock Wright, who had a touchdown in that game, broke his arm, and then they make a big signing. And they bring in Zach Ertz. Say what you want, but Zach Ertz can still go out there and catch a touchdown pass, catch you some passes. He did it with Arizona this year. He wasn't all-pro Zach Ertz, but he's not a slouch. I thought it was a big signing. We were hoping for it earlier. It did happen, and I think he'll help him. Thoughts?
No, yeah, I 100% agree. And the one thing you didn't mention about Zach Ertz, he is a great blocking tight end. Detroit has a phenomenal run game, so that's definitely going to play a factor if, they want to jump in, 2 tight end sets with him and Laporta, who's also a great blocking tight end. Yeah. So it just makes your offensive line even better. And then they both can catch the ball at a high clip. So, yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. And, I was hoping for, at the beginning of the playoffs, to use him as a backup, like we both stated that earlier. But yeah, the signing just makes too much sense. Laporta's still not healthy. He was out of practice today, I'm seeing. So there's definitely still some concern. He's not 100%. So having a veteran like that on your field to fill in, even if it's, just to block, play a decoy, whatever, catch a ball or two, just to keep the defense honest, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's definitely a huge signing and definitely gives Goff another weapon, which, you can always use another weapon.
Hey, you can never have too many weapons. You're never going to find a coach that says, I have too many weapons, right? So it's definitely going to be big for them. Now, do I think he's going to go out there and have 150 yards and 3 touchdowns? No, I do not. But I do believe that he could probably have, 40 yards receiving, maybe a score. You never know. But like you said, he's going to open up that run game. He's going to help there. Brock Wright, that's all he was. He was not really a pass catching tight end, although he did score that touchdown versus the Jets, and he had a big catch last week, right? So for a first down,
30-yarder, yeah.
I mean, it was big. It helped. So they'll miss him. They'll miss him in the sense of he's a nice veteran to have around. But now you got a better one coming in my opinion. So it's cool to see that signing, but also the Lions may have caught a break because Deebo Samuel right now, it's not looking like he's going to play. It's looking like that shoulder injury. So that is huge.
Yeah, no, I've seen that too. Last I seen was 50-50, but then I seen a report this morning that said he was out. I'm like, it's Wednesday. I don't know if I'm buying this just yet. I don't remember what the source was, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, I remember reading something that said that he was out. But yeah, if he doesn't play in this game, I would be shocked. Like, put a brace on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have 2 games to go, and then you have a 6-month off season to rehab. Like, your team needs you. Like, all you're doing is helping the Lions in that sense. Honestly, it takes a weapon off the field for the Niners.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll take it.
I mean, I thought it was one of those things where it's like, okay, this is a gift for Detroit because Deebo Samuel does everything. He does everything for that team, and when he's not there, I mean, listen, yeah, they have CMC, but that right there, and Brandon Ayuk is a good receiver. He is damn near a great receiver. But he's there. But without Deebo Samuel, this team is not the same, and Brock Purdy is not as comfortable. And we saw last week, despite the rain, whatever you want to say, versus Green Bay, he was shaky, Josh.
No, yeah, I agree. I'm back to Deebo for a second, though. The reason I'm hoping and praying that he is out of the game, like where does he live at? He lives in the middle of the field.
Right.
In my opinion, Anzalone's been a good tackler, you know what I'm saying? But he sucks in coverage. So
yeah, he does. That's what he's always struggled with.
Like, he sucks in coverage. So I mean, Deebo would eat him alive across the middle of the field. So yeah, if he's out, it definitely helps that defense a lot in that regard. So
yeah, I mean, it makes us the favorite in my opinion to an extent. I don't want to get too cocky. But I think Detroit right now, in terms of they're getting healthier now. Jonah Jackson won't be playing. He's out. He's been listed as out.
They have 2 guys that are listed as out, and that's Jonah Jackson and Khalif Raymond.
And Raymond, we knew, right? But Jonah Jackson, that does hurt a little bit. It does. I mean, he's an Ohio State guy. He's always been healthy. He's always on that line. He's one of the guys that you just plug and play and know you'll always have him every week. But I got to tell you, man, when Frank Ragnow went down, I was really holding my breath, and you and I were texting back and forth.
We were texting. We both said, like, hey, if he's out, our season's done.
It's done because that guy right there is the heart and soul of this Lions team in terms of on that offense. I don't care. St. Brown, I love him. Goff, all these other things. Gibbs. But if Frank Ragnow is not on that line, none of that happens because he's the one that gives Jared Goff the time that he needs. Best, I mean, he's him and Penei Sewell, in my opinion, 2 of the best in the game. So at their positions, Penei may be the best at his position, but Frank's got top 3, 4. He has to be right.
100%, so 100%.
And ever since he came out of Arkansas, he's just been consistent. He's just a great player. Wanted to get into some possibilities for this game, some over and under. I wanted to get your opinion on this. If Deebo Samuel doesn't play, I saw some numbers for over-under at 75 yards for Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk is going over 100. I don't want him to, but I think if Deebo's not playing, Brandon Ayuk's just going to get like 10, 11 targets, and I just see that happening. Your thoughts?
The over-unders right now are kind of hard for me to to kind of feel for this game in the sense that we don't know what Lions defense is showing up. Like there's some weeks the Lions just show up and ball out and hold you to 10, 13 points. There's other weeks the Lions defense shows up and they're giving up 27 to 33 points.
Right.
So if the Lions defense that's showing up, giving up 30 plus, yeah, Ayuk's definitely going over that.
That's what I'm saying.
Over that.
That's what I'm saying.
But James Houston's back, so that's going to help Hutch.
That is huge.
They can't really double team him, so I do expect some single coverage for Hutch, and I do expect a sack and a half, 2 sacks in this game for Hutch. So having Houston back out there, he said he's 100%.
We got breaking news, Josh. We got breaking news. Jim Harbaugh has accepted a position with LA. This is breaking news. Just came through.
What are the details? Let's say details.
I mean, this is live right here. So, wow. Because he had moved his breaking news. This is Adam Schefter. Harbaugh is leaving Michigan to accept the head coaching job with the LA Chargers. The Chargers get their man, while the national champions now have a head coaching opening. So there's no details as of right now, but you have to think he's probably getting 15 plus a year.
Yeah, he has to be for sure.
Wow, that's our first taste of breaking news on the show.
Way to go, Shefty. I guess you're Shefty. I'll be Ian Rappaport.
I mean, either way, I'll take their salaries, so I'll be either one of them.
He gets a little breadcrumb here and there, breaking
news. Right.
Wow.
I guess that diverts us a little bit because now that Michigan's got an opening, I mean, I'm gonna have to give Sharon Moore the interview at least to see where his mind is at, where his thoughts are at. I mean,
who are some guys out there though that you do expect to interview for this job?
Well, here's a name that I do not like, and I've heard
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly, that's one. But I think, listen, you're Michigan. You just won the national championship, right? So you should be able to get guys like Dabo. You should be able to get guys, in my opinion. Now, I just don't know because, is it an NFL guy, you think? And I don't know, man. I mean, I'm kind of hit with the surprise stick here, but I guess Sharon is the top of the list. He gets an interview. I don't want to just give him the job.
Yeah, no, Sharon's definitely getting an interview, maybe a second interview for sure. I expect him to be in at least a final 3, choice for the Michigan.
Give me some names, man.
Sure.
Give me some names. I mean,
I
dare you say Lane Kiffin?
Ugh. No, I sure hope not, dude. If I'm the president of Michigan, the athletic director, I'm being funny as heck, and I'm hitting up Urban Meyer.
I mean, why? Oh.
Dude, I'm being funny as heck about it, dude. Like, imagine him going back into the horseshoe to coach against Ohio State.
That won't happen, but yes, it's hilarious.
No, it won't, but that would be hilarious about it. Dude, like, just imagine, money talks, though, so you never know. You know what I mean? They were talking about giving Jim all this money. Who's a better college coach, Urban or Jim? Like they're right there neck and neck. Like maybe or you know what I mean? Like so it's not far fetched in my opinion. But yeah, no, I don't expect that. But yeah, it would be funny for sure to see him on that list.
Wow. I mean that's so. Let me give you some possible replacements. Okay, let me give you some possible replacements right now that could be there if Jim, well, he's gone now. So one of them on this list is not going to stay, but this is if Sharon Moore is not the answer. Okay, Jesse Minter, he's going with Jim Harbaugh. I've already heard that. Some list, and this is from sportingnews.com. Okay, not my list. Sportingnews.com. Lance Leopold, Kansas coach. He's 54-54 with Buffalo and Kansas. Gross. No. This one I like. The next two I love. PJ Fleck, Minnesota. I love PJ Fleck.
Bring him back to the man.
I love PJ Fleck. I think it would be a great hire. Row the boat, baby. I think it would be a great. And then Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I love that hire as well. I think both are doing some. Matt Campbell's overachieved at Iowa State. He's ready for a job. PJ Fleck, though. That would, in my opinion, would be a grand slam hire. I would love that.
Yeah, if I'm Michigan and he's available, I'm sorry, Sharon Moore, but PJ Fleck would be my choice.
Right? Like, I mean, he would do so much for your.
But I would tell PJ Fleck in the interim too as well, like, hey, you're gonna get this coaching job, but Sharon has to stay on.
Sharon has to stay, and Sharon might not want to after that, and that's fine, right? Maybe he goes with Jim to the NFL. But I'm telling you, if that's the case, yeah, I'm giving PJ a call. I love Sharon Moore. I do. But as I'm thinking it out right now, and this is live right now for us, I just don't know if you can give a guy a first head coaching job at the University of Michigan. Yes, he filled in.
It's not even about the university. It's like we don't know if he can recruit. We don't know if people want to.
We don't know any of that.
We don't know if transfers want to come here to play for him. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't know anything about him. Like we need to see an offseason where he's fully.
What do we know about Sharon Moore? We know that he barely beat Penn State. I'm just saying the obvious, right? He barely beat Penn State in one of the ugliest games I've ever seen. They won the game. Yeah. Right. But it was very ugly. I felt like, oh my gosh, why are they not passing the ball at all? It was ugly. Sharon also, who's the other team he beat?
Ohio State.
No, was it Sharon there? I thought Jim was. Yeah. It was Sharon. Okay, that was a huge win. But what I'm saying is I don't know. I know he's got a lot of heart. That's what we know about him. We know he's got those 2 wins. We don't know anything else.
3 wins. It was Penn State, Maryland, and then Ohio State.
Maryland, doesn't even get any credit. But yes, okay, 3-0. 3-0. But 3-0 can't be my head coach. Yeah. I love him, but I what do we know about Sharon Moore, Josh? We know he's passionate. We know he loves the university. Okay, so if you love the university, stay with us. You're just not going to be the head coach.
Yeah, especially if there's a name other like PJ Fleck. If we can pull a Dabo Sweeney away from
Oh my gosh,
and there's a name out there right now as well that's not even coaching right now, and Jimbo Fisher. So
here's the thing, Jimbo Fisher. I don't hate that either. I don't hate it.
I'm not a huge for Jimbo Fisher,
but he's coached a big time program.
Exactly. I mean, a couple, right?
Right.
So he at least has the experience.
And Josh,
we know he can recruit the sell. So,
and here's one other thing, Josh. He's followed a legend.
Yeah.
Bobby Bowden and Jim Harbaugh.
Yep.
So that's a good name. That's an interesting name there. But Brian Kelly, nah.
Yeah, no thanks.
Get out of here. I don't want that. If you hire Brian Kelly, your program will lose. In my opinion, I mean, because you're going to need.
Brian Kelly's the type of winner. He'll win you eight to 9 games a year, but you don't expect much else. Like a great year is 10-2 for him. Like,
Notre Dame can have that, right? Like that was and then he went to LSU, and it was like, you have the best playmaker in all of college football, and you are still losing 3 to 4 games a year.
Yeah.
Well, you underachieved. Because don't tell me LSU doesn't have talent. They do.
Right.
Just came down to play calling. That's big. Michigan loses Jim Harbaugh. I mean, Josh, in my opinion, Jim Harbaugh, Bo Schembechler, Lloyd Carr, Moeller. I mean, they got Moeller. I don't know. Who else? Those are the names, right? But Jim Harbaugh's got to be at the top. Does he not?
It's an interesting name to keep an eye on, too. I believe he's the quarterbacks coach of the 49ers now. What if Brian Greasy was on the Michigan list to coach?
Oh, that's interesting.
He hasn't done it as a head coach, but he's been on the big stage. You know what I mean? He's been in the NFC Championship game now back-to-back years. He's a quarterbacks coach on the biggest stage possible. Like
I would feel. See, here's the thing. I still feel like he doesn't have enough experience, but it doesn't mean it can't happen because Deion Sanders just became a coach one day. Literally just became a coach, and they're like, okay. I know it was Jackson State, but like.
Bro, speaking of primetime, dude.
Oh, my God.
That would go crazy.
Can you imagine?
You're talking about one of the biggest institutions in the college.
Can you imagine?
In Michigan with his ego where
Josh, he is calling Michigan. He is calling Michigan right now. I guarantee it.
Well, we have our quarterback then, Shedeur Sanders.
Please bring your son too. He can play safety.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we have a great wide receiver and a cornerback for center.
Right. Yeah, you can play both positions.
Right.
Come do
Right.
your best, Charles Woodson.
That's just us talking.
It is, but it's interesting.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It'd be interesting for sure, So anyway, let's get back to the Lions.
I mean, wow, that's definitely a TikTok right there. Harbaugh gone. What? We'll try to finish the show here. I mean, we got like 5 minutes left, so we gotta jump into predictions and then talk a little bit of Red Wings. Josh, for me, I think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to really depend on who we get from Jared Goff. He's comfortable in California. I do believe he's going to play well. I think this is going to be a game that's going to be around. I'm going to say 33-28 Lions.
Oh, so you are drinking the Kool-Aid.
I am. I am. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
You have a rough time keeping biased out of it, though.
I can't. I mean, that's one thing, right? I do it in my job every day.
Don't get me wrong. I want the Lions to win this game. I'll be rooting my butt off for them to win this game. But if we're being realistic, the 49ers have no reason to lose this game. They have the best player, the best defense. They have a quarterback who is inexperienced, but he leads the league in like 4 or 5 different passing categories. So I mean, they're not a joke. You know what I mean?
No.
So, and like I said, for the Lions to really win this game, which they do have a shot. That offense can play with anybody. We've seen that. It's really just going to depend on what defense that we get.
Yeah.
If they want to win this game. But no, I do expect the Niners to win this game. I do think it's going to be close. I'll say 33-27, 34-30, something like that.
Yeah. I think it'll be a close game. It'll come down in the fourth quarter for sure. But just remember, Kyle Shanahan chokes in big games. He has done it a ton of times. Last year, the Rams, was it a couple years ago versus the Rams? They were up by 14. Yeah, right. So it can happen, man. It can happen. But we'll see. We got like 3 minutes left, so we're going to try to squeeze this in. The Red Wings are 7-2-1 the last 10. Playing some good hockey. Patrick Kane still out. Won't be there on Thursday, which the game will be at. But he should be back before the All-Star game. They want to get him in. But he was playing great hockey. Detroit did lose last night to Dallas. They're scoring a lot, but they're having a hard time keeping the puck out of the net. It's his goalies. It's always Detroit's problem in the Yzerman era. They just can't find a number one guy. Josh, if they found a number one guy, they'd be one of the best teams in the league. I believe it because they got a lot of guys that can score, fun guys to watch. Dylan Larkin did it again last night with another goal. He's been awesome ever since getting back from that, horrific injury that he had, that concussion. But this team's just missing something, man. I'd like to see them be a little active at the deadline.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they need probably another goal scorer and probably another defenseman, in my opinion. That'll definitely help the goalkeeping, struggles.
Yeah.
In my opinion, getting, that stud defenseman back there to kind of, help that out. But yeah, some of these like stats that I have written out here about their goalies, it's mind-boggling. It really is.
Bad.
Like Lyon, he's given up 2.6 goals per game. Husso's giving up 3.5. Reimer's giving up 3.2.
Yeah,
and Lyon has given up 45 goals. Husso's given up 59. And then Reimer's given up. He's given up 40. And 11. Reimer's given up 40 in 11 games.
But that's what I'm saying. They just keep using one of these guys and nothing's working. That tells me 2 things. Like you said, 1, the defense is bad, but 2, these guys are terrible. Yeah. You don't have – if you got 3 goalies, you ain't got 1.
Right. Like, yeah,
right?
This team's kind of like the Lions right now. They have no defense and all offense. They really do if you think about it. Like the Lions defense will show up from time to time just like the Red Wings.
At least the Lions got Hutch.
Right. But, I mean, it's very comparable though. Like they'll show up from time to time. Be like, okay, well, here's your 1-0 win, here's your 2-0 win, here's your 3-2 win. You know what I mean? Like they'll show up from time. They'll show up from time to time. But I mean, there's also games they're giving up 5, 6, 7 goals. It's just like you're not gonna win that.
Well, that's the thing. They're very young still, right? They're if they're not the youngest, they're one of the youngest teams in the NHL. They got a lot of learning to have happen this season, but I still expect them to make the playoffs. I think they can make the playoffs, but they got to get some help. So Alex DeBrinket's been great for them. Like I said, Patty Kane, when he's healthy, he's been nice, but it's just being healthy, and that seems to be his problem. But we're running up on 30 minutes here, man. We got to wrap up soon, but I just want to get your last thing here. Keep it short, but let's hear it, man. Who's your X factor for Detroit versus San Francisco?
Like I stated, it's Aiden Hutchinson. Like, they only go as far as he goes if he gets pressure on that quarterback. He has James Houston back now. It's only going to make the secondary look better, which, they need that help from, the defensive line putting that pressure.
How many sacks in the last 4 games, Josh?
8.
8.
8 sacks. But I think he honestly has another 2-sack game here. They're going to have to single coverage him with Houston back. I expect a lot of stunts, a lot of delayed blitzes. You got to throw the Niners off their game in some sense. You got to blitz the safety more, maybe blitz the corners for a time or two just to kind of, throw a new, look at them. Something that they're not used to doing a lot. But, yeah, you got to throw something at the Niners.
Here's the X factor for me, Jahmyr Gibbs. Got to get that man 20 to 25 touches. Have to. Right. Exactly.
That was my offensive X factor.
if he doesn't get 20 to 25 touches, I don't see them winning. That's why they have to go that route. They fall in love with David Montgomery. I love David Montgomery, but they fall in love with him too much. It should not be a 50-50 share. The man should be taking 70% of the snaps. I don't care. That's the way I believe. Now, I also believe we win if Aiden outplays Bosa. And you say, well, they're not playing each other. No. What I'm saying is if our line is holding Joey Bosa, then that means that we got time to throw the ball. And Chase Young doesn't scare me. I think he's a shell of himself, but still.
As good as the Niners defense is, though, too, like, their secondary, in my opinion, is not all that great either. Like,
their secondary is bad.
They're linebacker and defensive line dependent. So yeah, it's definitely Amon-Ra type of game.
Yeah.
For sure to eat, you know what I'm saying?
I believe he'll be big.
Maybe Josh Reynolds has another big game. Maybe this is a game you finally stretch the field and better weather. Being in San Fran.
And Josh, can we get anything from Donovan Peoples-Jones? Anything?
Right. I mean,
can I get anything?
You got 2 speedsters right there in DPJ and JMO.
JMO, give me a touchdown over the top. Give me a touchdown.
Give them each a couple deep balls this game. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to need a couple big plays to win this game, whether it's Gibbs, whether it's St. Brown, Laporta, hell, even Zach Ertz.
I'd like to see something like that, man. Something like that, like a play where, like, a flea flicker or something to start the game off, something to catch them off guard.
Yeah. So, yeah, what I would like to see out of the Lions, though, like, I need to see Goff throw the ball 30, 35 times. That's it. Like, you need to run the ball, like, at least 60, 70% of the time. Like,
that's how you win. That's how you win the playoffs.
Yeah, you can't be throwing the ball 43, 45 times like you did last week. I mean, I need 35 tops. I need to see at least 20 to 30 rushing attempts this game.
If you're throwing the ball 40 times, I need 6 to 7 of those to beat a Gibbs. The man is too dang good with the ball in his hands. Got to get him the ball more. Have to. If you do not, you lose this game. So, period. Josh, so we had some breaking news for the first time. Jim Harbaugh gone from Michigan. Lions, we're hoping they get the dub. We'll be talking about them again next week. We'll be on Saturday, and we'll be kind of diving more into that matchup, right? We'll dive more into that and kind of look at some unsung heroes for Detroit. We'll have the final injury report or somewhere close to it, right? We'll kind of know where Debo's at that point, and then. And if anything happens with Michigan's head coaching position, we'll have that as well. But, Clarky, that's it for me. Any words for you, man?
No, sir. I'm kind of shell-shocked a little bit about the Harbaugh stuff, but
same.
Like I said, I mean, I didn't expect it to. I expected it to be sooner. Honestly, it's been 2 weeks since they won the national title. So,
well, I mean, I'm thinking he probably wanted to stay.
Like, I don't know what the holdup was. Like you said, he was probably weighing out the money. Like, hey, Michigan has da-da-da on the table for me. Can you at least beat that? You know what I mean? Something along those lines. That's nothing that makes sense to draw it out. But yeah. I mean, it's kind of a good thing though. Michigan can kind of move forward. I mean, alma mater or not, like leaving, you clearly didn't want to be there. So let's bring somebody in that wants to be here for life.
Yeah, I mean, you won a natty. Thank you. Appreciate you and what you've done at Michigan, Jim. I mean, you'll always be a Michigan Wolverine. But we move on, and we'll have a new head coach here soon. So that's it for the episode. Detroit on Deck. You can catch our episodes on YouTube, TikTok, and our YouTube is Detroit on Deck Pod, at Detroit on Deck Pod. Our TikTok, Josh?
It's also just Detroit on Deck.
Awesome. So we'll have all our content there. And, we'll get you some stuff out here today. So it's been fun, Clark. We'll see you soon, buddy. Peace.
Yes, sir.